are back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and it better not be good night. We are here again with HFLE for all we, an initiative of the Barbados Association of Guidance Counsellors. And with us today we have
Kim Jones, Guidance Counselor of Commonwealth School, up and on.
And
Mrs. Bella Alexander, Guidance Counselor of the Lone Boys School, St. Leonard's Boys.
And I am Donna Cox, the Guidance Counselor of the Lone Secondary School on Paddock Road, Great and Sealy Secondary School. And today we're actually going to be talking about anger management. Yes, a lot of us are often told, control that anger, manage that anger. But most of the time, we cannot control something that has already become loose and is running freely. So today we're going to look at anger, look at how we can recognize that anger is coming so that we can control it, and then learn some ways that we can, take control of the anger before the anger takes control of us. So let's start from the very beginning. What is anger? What is anger?
Well, for me, anger is, number one, a very normal and natural reaction to something that you view or you perceive to be a threat. And let me repeat those two words again. Normal, natural. Babies get angry. Animals get angry. I think my 2 dogs had a fight this morning. It is a normal, natural reaction to something that you view as a threat, whether you see it as a threat to you personally or to somebody that you know, somebody you love, a threat as it pertains to a situation you're involved with. It is your reaction to a threat, normal and natural.
Great, thank you.
And let me just jump in here and say, it is just like any other emotion. The same way that a person will get happy when something happens, or they will get sad, it is okay to get angry. As Kim mentioned, if you are upset about something, it can be something or someone, and there is a disagreement or some sort of tension between, 2 different thoughts, getting angry is okay. Yes. But as this program is going to show, it is how you manage that emotion that is important.
Correct.
Okay, and talking about jumping in, I also want to say here too, this anger, the reaction to something that is a threat, can also be the action to something that is a perceived threat. It might not actually be a threat to you, but it is something that you believe is a threat. For example, I know lots of times people will get angry because they walk into a room and say, that boy looking at me funny. That person may not be looking at them at all.
Might even be thinking about you.
Exactly, but because they believe that the person is looking at them, they then get angry about that, right? So while we're on the topic now about this emotion that is normal and natural, we all have different ways of showing this emotion. So let's look at some of the ways that this emotion is shown. How do you know, or how do other people know when anger is coming, when anger is building up?
It's building up, yeah.
Well, for some people, they start to feel the tension in their body. It could be that your heart rate increases, and so your breathing rate increases. So you get kind of this, kind of like a huff and puff. And then you know that it's going a little more than just light irritation. You are really getting upset with something. So more often than not, you start to feel the changes within your body. So as I say, your heart rate, it may be your breathing, and for some persons, it may even manifest itself in terms of sweating. So a person will start to perspire, and then you can look at them and tell that something seems to be wrong with them. So usually that is a first sign.
Yeah. Right, thank you. Yeah, Kim.
Some people get really tense and begin to clench and unclench their hands. Some people, as it pertains to the sweating, some people actually, I had one student who goes hot and cold. They're almost as if it's like a fever. It is the most, I've never seen anything like that in my life. Some people, their eyes get bloodshot red. There's some people who even with the huffing and puffing, some people just hold their breath and keep very still. One of my friends is like that, where when she gets very angry, she goes almost statue still. And you know, okay, we might have a problem coming up pretty soon. But again, one thing that we speak about are the triggers. You need to know what triggers go on in your body. The first way of dealing with anger is knowing what you feel. So the moment you feel yourself tensing up, you know, something's wrong. Or you realize that you're clenching or grinding your teeth, and you realize, wait, no, hold on, something is going on. You need to know your own body's reactions. So you know how to deal with your body and deal with yourself when those emotions do come into play.
You know, when we're talking about especially anger, we refer to a particular kind of reaction, or I should say phenomenon, called fight or flight.
Yes.
And when faced with a threat or a perceived threat, our body gets ready to do two things, either run away or to stand up and fight. And in both of those cases, all of these things that were just described in the body will help your body to survive. Okay? Have you ever heard the expression being blue vex?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, the reason that we have that expression being blue vex is because one of the things that happens when you get angry, when you're triggered, and your body goes through this reaction, is all the blood goes from your extremities, from your fingertips and your toes, and comes to the inside of your body. So that if you're either running away or fighting and you get cut, you don't bleed out. It's a survival technique.
Yes.
And you hear some people talking when they get really angry. They say the head get hot. Like your friend with the hot and the cold, hot and the cold. What happens is all the blood that comes into the middle of your body then rushes up to your brain so that you're able to make better decisions fast. Because, you know, if you're faced with, I don't know, this is Barbados. If you're faced with a bunch of monkeys up in your mango tree, and you go out there and say, I want my mango, and they start to throw mangoes down at you, you don't have time to sit down there and say, 1, 2, 3. No, you have to think fast. Am I going to run away from here? Or am I going to pelt mangoes back at the monkeys and try and hit one? Okay, just as an example.
Yes.
So your brain has to think, if I can I get out of the situation better by running away or by standing and fighting? So all of these things, tensing up the body. We didn't hear it just now, but your eyes, your pupils dilate. So you can see better. And sometimes some people will cry and they think, other people think, oh, you're just soft.
That's the build-up.
That's if they don't release it that way, it will be released in another way.
But not only that, when you cry, you wash your eyes so you can do what? See your target better, right? And then your digestive system, that has to get rid of a lot of stuff that's in there, because we can't be running away or fighting with all of that junk in the trunk. So sometimes when you get really, really angry, you might feel to use the bathroom real bad, okay? So that you can empty yourself so that you are more efficient in surviving, all right?
But what is important, Donna, though, is to recognize that although we're given general things that can happen to your body, each person's body is different.
Very much
So then you need to understand yourself. Part of anger management is knowing, how does my body react when I get angry? So yes, we may talk about, you know, the eyes and that glaring. That may be for some, and it may not be for others. But as you mentioned, it is important that when the anger wells up in us, our brain automatically wants to make a decision. And the problem is that some persons do not make the wise choice.
That's right.
And that is why we're here to talk about the anger management. How do you assess and make a good decision in terms of how am I going to react when I get angry?
Exactly. So that will now bring us on to our other section, where we're going to talk about some of the ways that we can actually take control of the anger before the anger takes control of us. But you know something, one little thing before we even get to that point. You know that there are other things that we go through that can actually give us the same kind of feelings that we have in the body when the body is angry, right? And some of those things, like, for example, if you are in pain,
That same adrenaline.
that same
Yes.
thing can build up, all right? If you're in pain, if you are, believe it or not, hungry. You know, they said a hungry man is an angry man,
That's a fact.
you know?
I think too, what must also be remembered as well is that when we speak about the blood rushing to your extremities for fight or flight, a lot of times too, that is why it is sometimes very hard to think logically when you're really, really, really angry.
Exactly.
In hindsight, you can look back and go, you know what? I should have, I could have. But in that moment, because all that blood is rushing to muscles and to ligaments to get it to either fight or flight, that sort of blood is not really rushing to the brain for logical thinking. It's rushing there for preparation for escape. But logical thinking a lot of times goes through the back door when you are really, really, really angry. And and that is something that you also have to be very mindful of. Logical thinking and anger a lot of times do not go hand in hand.
So that's why you need to have a plan beforehand, not wait until you get into the situation.
No.
And as Miss Belle Alexander has been saying, always you should know your body. Know what's going on with your body. Know what's going on with your mind. Sometimes your mind tells you things. As Kim was saying, you don't always think logically. But sometimes your mind is telling you things when you're starting to get angry. Like, you know, I'm going to bust somebody's head. I'm going to hurt somebody. Or I'm going to hurt myself. Or I'm going to break something up. Right? So your mind tells you a lot of things that may not necessarily help you to react in a positive way to control your anger. Right? And your feelings, sometimes you have these different feelings as well. You may feel disrespected.
Yes.
You know, sometimes people would hear something the wrong way, or maybe they hear exactly what somebody else has said, but they feel disrespected, and that feeling of disrespect is what will trigger
Yes.
an angry reaction. What other feelings can you think of that may trigger that as well? You have disrespect. What else?
Being hurt, being disappointed. A simple thing like somebody passing away. People always assume that, you know, with death comes just grief, but part of grieving is sometimes getting very angry at the situation. The fact that you could not control the person passing away, angry at the fact that the person was taken away from you. And that is a real thing for some people, disappointment. We, in another session, and I hope you're able to go back and look at our previous sessions, we spoke about the disappointment with some of the athletes who weren't able to be a part of Carifta or be a part of the Olympics. And not only are you disappointed, but that disappointment can be, angry. I worked so hard for so long, and now look at the situation that we're in. What do I do? And you're angry at COVID-19, you're angry at the situation, and you're learning how to control that as well. So hurt and disappointment can also bring about anger.
Yes.
And I think too, sometimes when an individual is scared, because especially if you've been thrust into a new environment, a new space, and you are with persons, let's say for instance, a new class that you're in, you can get angry.
Yes.
And it is sometimes you misinterpret what the emotion really is. Because if you knew that, yes, I am scared, then you are able to manage that better. But then you perceive, you know what, I'm in this situation, everybody else seems comfortable, and I'm the new kid on the block. And so when you see them chatting and stuff, sometimes because you're scared and you're nervous, you turn that into anger. And so you get upset with everybody, why it is I had to change schools, why it is that I had to move. And so you get very, very angry. So I find sometimes when you're scared, that anger also comes through for various situations.
Yes.
And another thing too, in terms of the feeling, is sometimes the feeling of betrayal. You're supposed to be on my side. You're supposed to be my friend. You're supposed to defend me. And you're telling me that what I'm doing is wrong? Or you're telling me that you're going to be talking to that person who got me upset before, and now you're their friend too, and they're not my... No, so sometimes the feeling of betrayal is another thing that will trigger those feelings of anger in a person.
Yes.
So we have a lot of different triggers, and these are just the tip of the iceberg in terms of feelings and how your mind thinks and how your body feels. So now that we've got a bit more of a handle on these different things, let us look at how we can control the anger.
Yes.
Who wants to go first? What's one of the first tips in controlling anger you'd like to discuss?
Well, I will say this. I always tell my students, either you control the anger or the anger will control you. So let's figure out right now, who do we want in control? Do you want you to be in control or the anger to be in control? One of the things that I always tell people, take a deep breath.
Yep.
Inhale, hold it for a little bit, and exhale. Do that 3 or 4 times. You just want to get your body back under some sort of control. Bring it under some sort of calmness. I'm not saying that's going to solve everything immediately, but it just gives your body a time to pause. It gives your brain a chance to pause and think, because we do not want to go to what is called the oops stage. That's what I call it, the oops stage, where you go, oops, we shouldn't have handled it this way.
Did I do
Oops,
that?
my parents have to be called in. Oops, I have to go to the principal. Oops, this could have been dealt with in a whole different way. Take a deep breath. Step back and breathe.
Right.
That's my one for now.
Step back and breathe.
That is important, breathing. And with that, sometimes a person can remove themselves from the situation. Because where you realize that tension is starting to build up, if you can go to another room, you can take a walk. Anytime you remove yourself from the situation, it also allows your body to start to calm down.
Agreed.
Because if you stay there, more often than not, sometimes the tension is allowed to rise. So the whole thing about breathing is a part of allowing your body to calm. But with some persons, maybe you don't need to see that individual at this point in time. Whatever situation it is that has you tense and have you angry, you just need a little 5 minutes away from it. And so wherever you can, and it's respectful and appropriate, take a little walk and remove yourself from that situation.
Great. So that's like a timeout. You put yourself in your own kind of timeout, where you know you're going to walk away, but you're going to come back later
And
to deal with it or resume an activity you were doing before. Those are fantastic. I like knowing your triggers. You need to know what it is that gets you upset and be able to identify it. And one of the first things about controlling your anger is to acknowledge that you are angry or you are getting angry and being able to say it. As opposed to saying, you are making me angry, say, I am getting angry. And once you take ownership, you have some kind of control. And once you have that control, you do your breathing, your relaxation, sometimes the taking a walk or other types of exercise, because your body is tense. And when your body is tense, you got to get it relaxed again so that you're able to think clearer.
I remember in an earlier show, Margaret said something about if you can name it, you can tame it.
Yes.
So once you recognize that, yes, I am getting angry, and you accept, yes, this is anger, then you're better able now to deal with it. And another technique that I usually tell persons is sometimes try to change up. Remember we said it's an emotion, change that emotion. You are angry, but can you do something else to change you from that state of mind? So sometimes just going and listening to a little music, if you know that music puts you in a better frame of mind, you can go do that. Some persons may decide they want to do something else, play a game, do some exercise, anything else that is going to change your emotion, because you do not want to stay in that heightened stage where you are angry. So if you can change the happiness or relaxation and do something else, feel free to do that.
Fantastic. And at this stage, you know what our problem is? Time. Okay. And before we give you your last 2 seconds each, I want to issue the challenge to all of you out there. I want you to sit down and really write out for you what are 5 triggers, 5 things that really tick you off, that you know if you're in that presence that you will be getting some of these feelings and some of these things in the body and some of these thoughts that let you know that you're angry. So pick 5 of the things that really tick you off, and then see if you compare some of the suggestions on how to calm your body down with some of those things that tick you off. See if it works. Let us know. Send an email to bagc@email.com, and in the subject, just put anger, and we'll know exactly what you're talking about. And you can also drop an email to your guidance counselor from your school. So with that, I'm going to throw it out to Kim and Chanel. Your final thoughts on anger.
Final words, anger is a natural, normal emotion, but please remember to control the anger before the anger controls you.
Thank you, Kim. Chanel.
And if you try strategies, they're guaranteed to work. But if you're getting a little difficulty, know that your guidance counselor is there. So reach out and ask for help.
I love them both. Talk to someone who will listen. Talk with someone that you feel safe with. Sometimes venting would also help. We are from the Guidance Counselors Association of Barbados, BAGC, and we like to say, remember that HFLE is for all of we. Stay safe. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.